Test 1, 2. All right. Hi, guys. After looking at the Urban Farm Park project last night, David Mesa and the class and I thought, what a great project to work on for a real life outcome, taking the artist's rendering in 2 dimensions that they're doing for the Urban Farm project in St. Pete, which is a very ambitious $15 million development in the food, energy, water nexus and circular economy philosophies brought to life, and did bring it to life through the magic of Blender and Unity, so that we can then go to city councils and to fundraisers and to interested parties and to schools and do a walkthrough, a fly-through, go in and see what it looks like. So this tutorial is going to be to get that project off the ground and try to galvanize your interest and others' interest in envisioning sustainability for something that is imminent. So let's take a look at how we might do that. I'm in Blender 2.81a, and so the first thing, it's like what I was doing with your own landscapes, but we're going to do it with their artist rendering. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit X to get rid of that cube that's there. I'm going to keep the light and the camera in case we want to do some rendering here. They're in a collection, and I'm going to make a new collection here. It keeps things organized, and I'm going to call collection 2 2D rendering, and I'm going to make another collection. There's a new feature in Blender, and I'll make this landscape features, and I'm going to put comma trees and such, in case people know what that is. And I'm going to make another one which will be buildings. And there may be others for more. Maybe we'll have another collection called water features. All right, so we have water features, buildings, landscape. We might also, we're thinking about it. We're doing food, water, energy nexus. Let's do one that's called urban farming. That'll be different from landscape features. And then let's do another one. So we have food, water, and energy. So let's call it energy features. All right. So those are going to be our bins, so to speak, to keep things organized. For the 2D rendering, I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to go to add, and I'm going to add, and let me turn on screencast keys so you know what I'm doing here. You won't have screencast keys in your Blender unless you put that add-in on, but it does help. So you can see what I'm doing down here in yellow, in big letters. So I always go hit the 7 key to get into top orthographic is the first thing I do, and then I'm going to go to add. I'm going to go to add, and I'm not going to go to mesh or text or metaball. I'm going to go to image, and I'm going to use a reference image. And the reference image that I'm going to use is in my, I believe it's in my downloads folder, which I have here as a favorite, and it should be, it's not going to show up because the reference image is actually a PDF file. And so I need to find that PDF file and convert it to a graphics file. So here's the PDF file. I'm going to double click on it and open it up. And where did it open up? It hasn't opened up anywhere. Hold on. Goodness gracious, why didn't it open up? All right. Oh, because that's, I'm not clicking on the file. It's called Conceptual Site Plan. There it is. And it comes up, and let me drag it over here so you can see it. That's the urban food park that is being proposed for St. Pete from Acoustics Design Studio. And they've done a wonderful job of visualizing that. And it's over a GIS map that you can see, or at least a Google satellite map. So we'll try to find that as well. We don't know where it is right now, but we have to find it. So it's Pinellas Trail, so I'm sure we can find it. But let's start with this image. But the first thing we're going to have to do is use our snipping tool and grab that image. And having taken that image, save it as, and find a place for it. Where am I going to do this work? I'm going to do this work in our Blender GIS files. And a PNG file is fine. It's better than a JPEG for this kind of work. So we'll call this Urban Food Park Conceptual Site Plan. That's what it is. A food center park. And bada bing, there it goes in there. We don't need this anymore. And we don't, and we don't need this anymore because we're not using the PDF. And if I now go in File, it was in File Explorer and I couldn't find it, but let's do that again just to make sure that we are Blender File View. And I go to, it's no longer in Downloads, it's Blender GIS files, and it says US, no, export Rosebud, continue, blah, blah, urban food. There it is, the site plan, and load that reference image. And there it is, way up there. So it's in the wrong place. So let me move it down, unless, well, you know what, maybe I should keep it there because while I don't think it has any GIS information, it'd be weird if it did. So that is now in this collection, 2D rendering. And if I turn the 2D rendering off, it disappears. So I'll keep it there just for, for giggles. And let me just zoom in here and see. So I hit the number pad 0 and look up, what does it really say? Oops, I don't want to twist it around. It says, and I'm Pinellas Trail Exhibit and Greenway Entrance. So it's near the Pinellas Trail. Is there any other geographical information we can get off this to know? It'd be nice if people would just tell us, but they haven't. It says on the outskirts of St. Pete. But we can play sleuth and figure that out. So in this case, let's go to, for the moment, let's go to Google and let's say Google Maps, as if I could spell Google Maps, but this machine is so forgiving. It does spell check for me. And let's go to St. Petersburg, Florida, and let's turn on the satellite image. And there's Pinellas Park. And the satellite image should be coming up now. So the question is, where is this? And so to find out where it is, we go to the documents they sent us, and we look at what they're telling us here, that the project summary says it's a community-based, vertically integrated urban agriculture and food complex bringing together in a 14-acre park all aspects of the farm-to-fork food cycle presented in an engaging and entertaining format. Okay, it'll add cultural tourism destination to Pinellas County, local, regional. It'll be operated as a zero-waste facility, enhancing St. Petersburg's reputation as Florida's first green city. It has an edible botanical gardens. It'll be near the I-275 and the Pinellas Trail, and it'll connect and provide additional traffic to the existing Warehouse Art District and the Deuces, promoting the growth and development of surrounding neighborhoods. So they have this synopsis of all the different cool things that are going to be there. And health and nutrition, business philosophy. So we see a lot of information about it. It's supposed to be a $15 million project, excluding the land. It'll take 2.5 years once it's started, 3 phases. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. The information is either at urbanfoodpark.net or in Facebook. So if we go to urbanfoodpark.net, we see it has a vision. It talks about education, tourist destination, and then it says, we invite you to join us in making the Urban Food Park a reality. There's many opportunities for involvement depending on your interests, talents, and networks. We want to put our interests, talents, and networks into this great project with this dedicated team. And you can join, so we will contact them to tell us how we can help, but we know immediately how we could help and fulfill what we want to learn in this class, and that is, because this website is not yet fully up, we will take the 2D picture that they have supplied, and we will turn it into a 3D walkthrough. But to do that, we need to find the information about where it actually is, so we can put our GIS skills to work on this. So they say they have, in this document, there is also a Facebook group, Urban Food Park. So if we go to the Urban Food Park Facebook group, then we see in Urban Food Park information about it, and it tells you that its address will be an educational organic vegetable farm, the 15th Street Agri-Hood. Now that might be what's already there. It might not be where they're going to develop this. So we still may have to do some hunting. But it gives us some idea of where they're already working. And if we click on this, we see the actual 15th Street Urban Agri-Hood that they've started. Hard to know if that's the actual place where they're going to do this project, but it gives us something to look at. And so we can take the address here, and we can now go into Blender, and I did this already, but I'll do it again because you should see how it's done. So what I'll do is take my GIS, go to Web Geodata, to Base Map, Google Satellite, and so let me go back and show you that again. Oops. Oh, I haven't even exported that. Let me try that again. Web Geodata Base Map, Google Satellite. Actually, I still have this map in here. That's why it's creating a problem. So I'm not going to do that in front of you. I'm going to try to figure that out, and I'll get back to you. Okay, class, I got finally, Dr. Dorsey's here. He knows St. Pete, and he's helped us to identify where we were looking in here on 15th Street North is the Urban Agri-Hood, where there's already a little community garden project, but that is not where they're going to be building this. It actually turns out, according to Dr. Dorsey, who's right here, beside me.
22nd Avenue.
Uh-huh.
I mean, sorry, 22nd,
22nd Street here.
And
coming through Pinellas Trail, right, which they say it gives access to the Pinellas Trail. So it's this triangle
275, yeah.
and the 275 here. This is where they're going to put the organic farm crops, and this is where they're going to put the aquaponics pond, and the big leaf edible garden is going to go here, the food museum here, organic farm crops over there, and it sort of abuts down here where this Burma Sea product is. So it's this region.
Right.
Okay. Excellent. I will now take this part of the map, and what I'll do is I'll go back to Blender. I will now get rid of that and go to Web Geodata Base Map, say OK, and bring this. Oh, this base map is not. Oh, yes, there we go. So now we're in the base map. I'm going to come in and move this. Thank you. I'm going to move this to where our GIS map shows that area, which is here, right? Yes, it's this triangle. Come on and zoom in on that. I'm going to hit E for export, and now I have that piece of map in here that we can begin to develop on. And since I have that piece of map in here, when I hit 7, I can now take the site plan and select it and move it, if I can find it. Where did the site plan go? It disappeared. I think I'm going to bring the site plan in again. So one more time, I'm going to add a image, reference image, and grab my site plan, which is Urban Food Park site plan ping, and it's over there now. Bring it up to here where it belongs, zoom in, scale it using the S key, and with the map, oops, it got flipped over. Oops, why is it getting flipped over? Okay, it's upside down. So let me rotate it in Z by, what, 180? Yep, there we go.
There you go.
All right, and then I take this and move it so that it sits, oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow. All right, now we can begin to add the trees and the shrubs and all that. Let me hit save on this. And develop this so that this part of the neighborhood looks like this. That's pretty cool. I'll adjust it just a little bit.
It's close enough.
Yeah, beautiful. So what we do in order to get the trees in is there's a lot of web resources. We don't have to create anything as students in this class, because if we go to turbosquid.com, I think it is, Yep, and we go to 3D models and we say trees. There's a tree collection here, and we want to get it from the lowest price, which is free, and grab a tree or two. There's some FBXs. I don't know what looks good on the landscape. This one here, maybe. They're okay. Yeah. So I could grab this tree and download it. I have to put in my email address, which is this one, I think, for here, and then stay logged in. Okay. Generic trees, there they are. Click on it, and then download. We'll do the FBX zip, because that's what we need. The FBX files, and do they come down? Yep, there they come. Coming right down. We will then go to that folder. Oops, what happened to it? It's in my downloads folder. Should be my downloads. So yeah, generic trees. I'm going to cut it, go into my folder Blender GIS, and I'm going to paste it there. And then I'm going to, I should have a folder in the folder here. But anyway, I'm going to unzip it to its own folder here, and that should be called generic tree folders here. Okay, so I've got two different, there it is, generic trees. All right, so when I go into Blender now, noting my file structure, I can say import FBX file. Take that folder, which was in the Blender GIS files. Should come in. What happened here? Isn't it in that folder? Downloads. No. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Okay. Go up one, and it is generic trees. There they are. Take the generic trees and bring them in. And the question is, where did they come? Oh, it's taking some time. So now the trees have come in, and I grab those trees. They seem to be really big poly files, though, because it's not letting me. There we go. Move one down to that tree location. Grab this tree and, ooh, oops. Just want the tree. Nothing but the, stop it. Take the other tree, put it there. Grab that tree again. If I can get it, I can grab it from here. Bring it down. Hit Shift D. Let me turn on screencast keys so y'all can see what I'm doing here. Screencast keys is on. Now you can see my left mouse click. I hit Shift D. You see that there. It makes a duplicate of it. I plant that tree. Hit Shift D again. Move it there. Hit Shift D again. Make a tree there. And we can start landscaping, although we don't want monocropping. We do want biodiversity ultimately. But right now we'll just use that same tree just so that we can get a sense of what the landscape's going to look like. And you can see now when we zoom in, we're beginning to populate the area with the trees, which is cool. Now another feature that's really neat about Blender's new edition with the GIS is that we should be able to go in and get building information and make our building heights, let's make them a little lower. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we're going to try it and bring in these buildings. Did it work? It did not work.
Where are you getting the buildings from?
GIS has it. They have the buildings. So something went wrong there. Not sure what. Let me try it again. Building, go to my OpenStreetMap, click on buildings, elevation from objects, separate objects. Maybe because the map is too big. That does happen. When the map is super huge like this, the buildings often don't come in. So the way to do that would be to get my buildings. So I'm going to temporarily...
Make the map smaller?
Yeah, I got to make the map smaller. And I don't know how to make it smaller once you've imported it. So I'm going to temporarily go into a new file, which is helpful if you've never seen how Blender works from scratch. Turn back on screencast keys so you have that. So I come in. This is what you get when you come into the program. You go 7 to be orthogonal top view. Delete the cube because you don't need it. In fact, for this purpose, we don't need the light and we don't need the camera because we're just doing the buildings now. Go to GIS, go to get that base map again, and in that base map, hit G. What was the address? 22nd Street?
Yeah, 22nd Street and
Street, St. Petersburg, Florida. Make my zoom level about.
south on south side, 22nd Street South.
It should get us somewhere near there.
Yeah,
If it,
okay.
or maybe not. Okay, it didn't recognize that. How about I just type in that same address that we had, which was it was on their website. And then we'll move our way down there. It's this one here, 310
put
15
that in,
North.
that'll
Go
more
into
accurate.
there, put our zoom level at 17, and okay, now we can move down to, where was it
Keep
again?
going down. And over to, yeah,
Over here.
down.
So I'm going to zoom in so close that I only have that area on the screen. And then I'm going to hit escape, and that gives me just this, which is not a lot of stuff. Now I go to get OpenStreetMap. Tell me I want buildings. I don't too tall. I don't know what these numbers mean. They always give me huge buildings that don't fit. So I usually go down to about 10, and I say bring in those buildings, and there they are. So now we have all the buildings in the landscape, which is
Oh.
pretty darn cool because you can immediately start doing a fly through there.
Yeah, that's
Isn't
pretty
that
good.
pretty neat? So having that, I can now take this. I don't need the map anymore. So I can only pick the buildings, and then I'm going to say export as an object file or an FBX. I guess I can do an FBX, doesn't matter, because of the two formats that you can use. I'm going to just do only the selected objects, because that's all I want to come out of here. And I'm going to put it in my Blender GIS files, in my Blender, I'll put it in 3D warehouse models, okay. And I'm going to call this St. Pete Urban Farm Surrounding Buildings. And with that, I export the FBX file, and those buildings go out there. I then open up my urban food park, and I don't need to save this, I could care less, because I just used this to get my buildings. So don't save, you don't have to mess around. Okay. Now I come in here and I import that FBX file, which is in the 3D warehouse surrounding buildings, and boom, they come in. Now, did they come in properly? No, they're messed up, so I've got to find where they match.
Okay, match it up. Is it the right scale?
May not be. It may be that.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. See those go? Yeah, it is. Look, see the three over here?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Okay.
Bing.
Okay.
Yes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Look at that. Now we got some trees. We got some buildings. Maybe the buildings are a bit small. I should have maybe used the default height. That's okay because I can take these buildings now and I can say scale in Z, and I can make them taller. So-
Yeah, but I don't think they're that tall in St. Pete.
Right. And I don't think the trees are as big as I've made them either. But anyway, that can be played with. That's the point.
Right.
So eventually we're going to erase the reference image, and we're going to erase the Google satellite image because we have to put textures. We need grass, we need water, we need... And what I've done is, you'll see that I've taken it and I've got a folder for water features, landscape features, buildings, which I have to put those in, urban agriculture, energy systems, so food, energy, water, and then we have to have the waste features. But we basically now have the beginnings of a virtual version of that site plan.
Right.
And all of these features, like rain garden, like trees are easy, but if I wanted to, like these buildings don't yet exist. So if I wanted to, I could click off of this and zoom in. Whoops, stop it. Shift key, all right. And if I wanted to build the building here, I would go add mesh plane, move the plane if I can find it. Where did the plane go? Plane. Do you see a plane here? I don't see a plane here. I thought I just added a plane. Oh, there it is. There is a plane there. Move that plane to here and scale it and move it. So it's this little game, the dance that you play. Go into edit mode and say, what I want is I want to take these two vertices and then, whoops, not that vertex. Deselect everything. Okay. Grab these two vertices and drag them down to make that building. Then come up in the Z direction and say extrude in Z, except I now need everything. Whoopsie. What happened to my plane? There it is. All right.
Hello?
Extrude in Z.
Yeah.
And now what I've done is I've created two more buildings. So now I have two more buildings.
Okay.
And I can select off of that and then do that same procedure again.
I'm in TH's office. He's just showing me something on the computer.
And then take that plane,
A few minutes though.
move it up to here, scale it, move it over, go into edit mode, deselect, grab those two vertices, grab it and stretch it down to cover that building. Now go into select all those vertices, so I have the whole object selected, turn the camera, extrude in the Z direction and build that building, but you'll notice that that building had a roof. So all I need to do to make a roof here is to hit W to subdivide, and now take these two vertices and do my grab, oops, I need both vertices, shift key there, take these, grab it in Z, and make a little roof, which is exactly what,
Easier?
see, if you look at the actual site map, you'll see that this one has a roof,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I just made a roof. So now these buildings that don't exist in St. Pete, we pulled these buildings from GIS, but these buildings we just made right now. And we can continue to do that with all the features of the landscape until we have the entire landscape populated, and then we can get into texturing it and making it look really pretty, adding the water features with the ripples in the water,
Yeah.
and adding ducks flying. And the last thing that I want to show you that I've described that David and I and Us did last night was in this world we have a camera, and the camera, where does the camera go? There's supposed to be a camera here. Where's the camera? Camera, where are you? If I go zoom in on the camera.
You're
Oh, the
now
camera's
only
way-
putting, like boxes, right?
Hmm?
You're only putting boxes,
Yeah.
like a box, and then you make a house.
Yeah, what just happened? Why is my camera way over here? Where are you? What just happened? Okay, that's really weird. Site plan, zoom in. What? GIS info. Oh, there it is. So I don't know where my camera is. When that happens, what I would do is I would delete this camera and add a camera of my own. Camera. And then the camera should have come in somewhere around here. And if I zoom to that, okay, something's astray. And it's really thinking. All right, I got to figure that out. Anyway, the point was only going to be that
What was the camera for?
so I can take a picture of it to do my first rendering and do a fly-through. But something really weird is happening here, and it may be that, let me try to do this again. There it is. It may be that I've set my occlusion wrong. This is sort of weird stuff, like I need to make my occlusion 0, and I need to now be able to zoom in, and somewhere in here is my darn camera. And that camera is where are you, camera? Can I see the camera? It's in here. I don't know if it needs to be scaled up or scaled down. It says it's way over here somewhere. Oh, you know what I can do? The camera location. I need to find the location of this map. And in fact, I need to locate everything. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to I was going to move it to 0, 0, 0, but the camera should be located 0, 0, 0. And now the camera should be, yeah, there it is. There's my little camera. And the camera is so darn small that you can't see it on the landscape. So I got to play with this somehow to get my camera, because this is a huge map.
Yeah.
That's the problem with this. Then I'd be able to control. Yeah, the camera can't even see anything right now because it's so small. So I got to try to figure out. There, oh, there it went. There's the camera. Not there. It's okay. Camera, I see you. I see you. I see you. Okay, there's the camera. Now take the camera. Grab it. It's looking down the wrong way. Lift it up. Rotate it in the z-axis like this. Move the camera back. Rotate it up a little bit. And so what I'm trying to do is make the camera rotate it again. See the camera looking down like that?
Right.
So if I hit Control 0, yeah, now we're getting there. Now I'm beginning, if I can only move it better, there's something with the occlusion here, and this thing is such a huge file. But yeah, you see the camera's looking at this landscape, and it's doing funky things as it looks at it. Maybe that the camera's
It's high up, like
yeah,
like a
it's
satellite.
too high up. Bring it down closer. And now, yeah, there we go. Now we're getting someplace. So we take that camera and bring it down and tilt it up a little bit. And the first shot of this little movie will be on the first frame, say, camera, you're at the beginning of the park, location, rotation, and scale. And then 30 frames a second, so after 4 seconds or 120 frames, let's move the camera to the other side of the park and pin it there, and then let's go another 2 seconds, which would be 60 plus 120 is 180, and over that 2 seconds, let's rotate the camera around to look at it from the other side, and then make a keyframe there. And now what we have is a motion where the camera is flying over the landscape and then turning around. And when we look at it from the camera's view, we have a little movie that plays like this. It's just jittery because it's using a reference image.
Right.
Once that reference image is gone. So we have to fix the camera movement.
Yeah, but at least you know you can do it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so once I've gotten rid of reference images and used actual trees and stuff, as you could actually see, if I turn off the site plan and I turn, well, that should work. There's not going to be any more jitter. Yeah,
That's why
so
it's blinking.
it was blinking because the reference image isn't rendering right. But yeah, it's a rendering thing. So even if I turn off the Google satellite image, then it should, I think, it should at least show us the trees, because they should still be there. Where'd they go? What happened? I even lost my reference point. Oh, wait a minute. There's
Yeah.
something else in here, right?
Yeah, it's closer to the to your access,
There we go.
the point of, your access point.
Is this the right image?
Yeah.
Or is
no.
it
No, you're on the wrong side now. You gotta get.
is it this one?
You gotta move. Yeah, you gotta move up towards where the red.
And let me turn on the site
green
plan
intersect-
again.
The intersection. Yeah,
Mhm.
there you go.
Was this the right? Is this it?
Yeah. It might.
No, this. So what I have is I have the wrong image in. It's this image here. Yeah, I had a previous GIS info,
Yeah.
which I have to turn off, and that was creating some of the jitter, but now I should also turn off the site plan, and it should be that, where's my images, my buildings? Water features, buildings, they're all in there. No, site plan. Oh, there's the site plan, but where's my open?
Buildings are gone.
How did they get gone? That shouldn't, that's just a bad image. Where's my buildings? Everything else seems to be on. Oh, there they are. They're there.
They just splatter.
Yeah, it's just doing this weird splatter thing. But the buildings, you know what I think happened? In the site plan, yeah, all my buildings were in the wrong folder. So I have to turn off the urban food site plan. And somehow, oh, the empty, that's what it is. Boom. All right, but the buildings are still there now. There they are, and there's my trees. Better. So now if we go to the camera view, yep, and we zoom in and we play the animation, now we're getting somewhere. This is why we need students experimenting with this, because it's a bear. But you see that? Go fly over the buildings, it turns around, and it looks at the thing, and we can change that. But that's the basic idea.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
Okay, good. Making progress.
All right. We want to make sure, of course, that the site plan sits properly on here. So I'm going in down here. There's all these tabs on the left side, and I'm going to this one, which is Object Data Properties for the site plan itself, which we want to move around so that it sits perfectly. And you can see that those buildings here and these here are the same ones, but I need to get them to lay over. So if I grab it and move it over, you can't really tell if they're on top or not. And so what you do is you go, this will be unchecked, you go use alpha, and then you can change the opacity, as you can see, like that. And when you change the opacity, then it's easier to use that reference and line it right up. And now it's looking really good. It's perfect, isn't it? Right on the landscape. And now I can move the transparency back up. But I have that ability at any time to do that and then save my file. The trees got messed up and the buildings got messed up relative to the site plan. The actual area buildings are lined up on the GIS map, so they should be okay, more or less. What isn't okay are the buildings that I made and the trees, because now I moved to the site plan. So I'm going to have to take my trees, if I can get them, I go like this, and then move my trees back in position. So each tree will have to be removed. That one's fine. This one needs to be, let's put that one there. We'll put this tree, that was fine there. This tree was fine there. This tree is got to be moved to there. This tree gets moved down to there. This tree, who knows where it was? It goes there for now. And this tree would be moved over to here. And there's all the trees. I'm still going to make another tree and move it over to here. And there's a bunch of other trees. So, I mean, you can just keep doing that and populating. But as I said, we don't want to have a monocrop of a single species of tree ultimately. So these are really just placeholders for the beginning of our rendering, not consistent with our philosophy as sustainability professionals. But good to get that kind of thing. And then the buildings that I made, this I have to rename and call it working, it's not the barn actually, this is perimeter service building 1, and we'll move that now over to, whoops, move it, ooh, I'm still grabbing the whole plane. So what you should try to do is lock certain things, like let's go here to area building. If it's going to let us, will it let us lock it? Yes, you go to the Properties menu of the item, and you can lock it. So let me deselect everything by right-clicking, and let me now go to the site plan first of all, and lock its location. So in its rotation, so that ain't going anywhere, and lock its scale so we don't make it any bigger or smaller. We're also going to take the entire map of St. Pete and lock its location so it's not moving or rotating or changing its scale. So that's locked, and the same thing would be true of whatever this extra texture is here. So now we know we're not going to mess around with that. And once we get the trees in place, we can select them, if we can get to them. Sometimes it helps to go into this view and use your bounding box and select the trees. But it looks like we can't do them all at once, so we'll have to just go through and zip, do each tree. It's very helpful if you can, oops, didn't mean to make a keyframe, so forget that, that's if you're animating. But lock them, and lock these, and you get the idea. So I've got to go through and lock all of my trees. And I can do that later as well. And then the same thing with the buildings. With those buildings, the perimeter service building 1 needs to be moved over here. The buildings perimeter service, oh, that's actually the barn. Okay, so working barn. Working barn. Then, whoops. Working barn is going to go, and it's going to be moved up to here, and then it's going to be locked in place by going again to the location, the rotation, and this here, there should be another working barn, there should be another plane, which is, yes, which is the other perimeter service building. And take that and move it over here and lock that. And we're beginning to make some headway here. This jittery business, I'm not sure why it does that. It's fairly annoying. Maybe it's the focal length? Nah, it can't be the focal length. It's not the clip or the view. It's just some weird artifact with the site plan that I can't account for. But we're not going to be using it ultimately anyway. It's just a reference. And so in general, the site plan is going to be turned off, leaving us with the buildings and the objects there, so that when we do a fly-through, we see everything. And why did the buildings disappear? Are they part of the building? No. Camera scene collection. The working barn is there. The site plan is there. Now the buildings disappeared. It may be that my buildings got erased when I turned off something in here. Well, the buildings disappeared somehow, so I'm going to bring them in again because I made them as a separate file. So I will import my FBX and come over here, and the surrounding buildings, they come in, and are they in the right location? No, they're not. So hit G and move them, and once again, as we showed, we can place them over the image and bring them up a little bit. So we're getting weird artifacts and rendering, and I'm not exactly sure what is causing that. It may have to do with memory, but if I turn off the site plan, it goes away slightly, but not completely. It has something to do with clipping, because it's such a big file. Hit G and Z and move this down to the ground. And now the buildings are a little better. And when we get close, there isn't as much of a problem, but there's something with the rendering that's happening in here, and it's a memory issue for sure. We're using a large piece of real estate. All right, anyway, that's enough for today. Got to go teach now, but I hope this gives you a start on our project.